Ward. Hey there, welcome to the Vacation Rental Life Show. My name is Matt Ward. I am here solo tonight. Derek will be joining when he gets a chance. He's a little busy with his properties in Seattle, and he'll jump on when he gets a chance. We're here with Karen and Linda and John and David. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about all kinds of things, vacation rentals. We were just talking before I turned the recording on. Karen had a question about whether or not I personally was affected with my property in Fort Myers as it relates to Miami's new ruling of pulling back vacation rentals, along with many other things, due to the second wave of COVID in Miami. We haven't been affected here yet in Fort Myers, but that may be coming down the pike because we're only 2 hours away from Miami, just across Alligator Alley. So that's the big news right now, is the COVID sort of respread. We talked about that last week as well. I don't know if anybody here is being necessarily affected by that. Are you being affected by an increase there, Karen?
I am still not doing short term, not until this fall.
Okay, right. Okay, so yeah, you haven't been hit just yet. Yeah, and Linda, what about your properties? Any movement or anything you're hearing on that? You're muted.
Sorry, it's muted. I'm doing fine. The Tahoe area doesn't have a lot of infection, and there's a lot of drive-to areas. You know, the Bay Area and Southern California. So, and people from Texas don't seem worried about flying in. It's worrying me a bit.
Exactly the same thing here.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It seems, I don't know what I wish I knew how to figure out who's willing to fly and who's willing to drive, because that was the case, I would just market to all the drivers, right? So in other news, how many people got the Airbnb information? So Airbnb, John turned on. John, you want to tell them what's going on? I'll let you be the purveyor of bad news.
Well, you know, as expected, I just saw that last night that they basically don't want you to try to message your guests off platform even after the booking.
At any time. They are now saying that is a violation of their policy, their terms of service, to contact the guest at any time, whether during the rental or at any time after the rental, to market to them using the email address they provided.
It's awful.
I think they're actually they're not using the email anymore. So you can only message your guests through Airbnb or through a PMS, but they're killing the you know, the funny fake email that they create. Mm-hmm. So
can you just message them still and get their email?
You can message through the app, but they won't. I mean, if they provide, they're going to mask the email if they attempt to give you an email through the platform.
Can't you get their phone number?
So I'm no longer listed on Airbnb, but the way to get the number before was either A, accept the booking, or B, you'd had to call and ask them to call the guest and have them call you. John, what's your process for getting the number?
So some, but not all of my properties require that I register all the guests before they you know, they go in. And so I'm just using that as my way to continue to do it. So basically, once someone books, I send them a message asking them for their name, their email address, phone number, and that's the information that I need to provide my my HOA. And so I can still get around it, because if it's for compliance or legal purposes, Airbnb saying, then, you know, then you're allowed to do it, but you also have to write it into your listing that you're going to be asking for it.
So
and they also have a thing too where they're going to be allowing you to upload documents. So the whole concept of signing a condo rules agreement or something like that, that's how they're going to get around that. They're going to have you upload it through their system.
But you can't have them sign a rental agreement?
Same thing, you upload it through their system. You won't get their email address to do it.
But I need a signature.
It'll go through a DocuSign-like system. Yeah.
I think it's a response. They're realizing everyone's trying to do direct booking. So I think they're, it's kind of like, uh-oh, we're about to get this massive wave of people, taking a one-time booking and then converting them into their own customers. Doing.
Yeah, it's what we all want, right? I mean, we use the platforms. So what I think Airbnb and HomeAway don't really understand completely is that we use the platforms as a tool to get initial bookings. And then from there, we own the customer, right? We're trying to own that customer and build a relationship with them. Unfortunately, Airbnb and VRBO don't want you to own the customer. They're claiming they're the customer. It's their customer. And yet, in so many legal filings, they'll say that they're just a platform. They're just a software company. They're just a matchmaker. They play the same game that Uber plays,
Right.
where they want to stand back and not take liability for anything. But on the other hand, they're doing everything to control the system as feasibly as possible to keep people from attempting to get their own customers or work with their own customers or provide a better service, or a better price, right? So it's going to be interesting how this evolves. Derek and I spoke about it a little bit earlier today, and his sort of thought process on it was this was eventual. It was coming. It's just a matter of when this stuff happens and not whether it's going to happen. So,
Matt, you said you're not on Airbnb?
No, I was originally on Airbnb, and I got fed up with two things. One, every single guest inquiry asked us for a discount. Every single one.
And to that, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And we had the policy that we had to speak to every one of our customers in advance before we would rent to them, because we're in a condo development and we have the nosy neighbor issue, the concern over short-term rentals, and we wanted to make sure that we were providing a good quality product for our guests, but that our guests were a good fit for us and we're not going to basically get harassed by the neighbors. So if our guests had a lot of kids, we knew that was going to create a problem in the pool, and people were going to speak up. They were going to file complaints against us, even though they were unwarranted, right? And things like that. So we had to be very sort of picky about, because early on we allowed guests to come in with 4 or 5 kids in our property, and our property isn't even that big. We should have never allowed that in the first place. So we took our listing off of Airbnb for those two reasons, and we never looked back. We never get. I would say, I can't say never, I guess, but I'm guessing out of 1,000 inquiries we've had, maybe 5 have asked us for a discount on VRBO.
Mm-hmm.
Just seems to be a different quality guest. What about you, John? You get that a lot?
Well, the way I do it is I use SmartBnB, and if someone asks for a discount, I have an automatic message saying, my prices are based on, supply and demand, dynamic pricing. And so there's no discount. So just bugger off. Not, I don't say bugger off, but, and so I don't need to think about or try to come up with excuses. So that's how I get around that with people asking for discounts.
Linda, you had quite the facial expression. Do you get asked for discounts a lot?
Yeah, I don't get asked a lot, but the people that I do get asked for discounts, if I end up booking them, they tend to be the most problematic guests. So
Exactly.
Right? So I don't want them either.
That's in any business. I'm in the process of writing another book about how to do business with people that bring you joy. And one of the challenges we found in interviewing over 50 people was that the more people negotiated on price for any service of any kind, the more difficult they were as a client,
Mhm.
no matter the industry.
Thing. Yeah, it's an interesting mindset that the sort of people that would ask for a discount are just trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. Yeah,
And
so
the Airbnb guest tends to be not a very good guest.
you've had that problem too? Yeah.
I
And
don't.
younger.
They're younger. Yeah. They're more careless. They smoke pot in the house, even though you tell them no smoking, and
Mhm.
they're impolite.
Yeah. What about Ben? Ben, what's your take on this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, we were 100% Airbnb for the first like 3 years of our business. So we've seen plenty of bad guests. And yeah, I mean, these new changes, I'm just, a lot of the tools that we use to vet guests are now no longer available. And I'm a little concerned about that. They're not seeing IDs and not being able to contact them. And like you said, get their phone number and call them. I mean, that's something we relied on. So just gonna have to find new ways, I guess.
Yeah, I think the question becomes how, right? And I think it's up to us to innovate that part of it and to figure out and just I'll tell you, I mean, it is not beyond me to spend 20 minutes finding that person on Facebook. Like
Yeah.
it's not hard. And oh, by the way, there's an amazing yet very, very, very creepy website called findpeoplesearch.com. Check that out sometime.
I'm gonna put
I
that.
was gonna tell you
Findpeoplesearch.com. Punch in
this
your upcoming
weekend.
guest name in there, see what you find.
This weekend, my guest services guy, we had a booking on July 4th, and of course, or it was July 3rd, and he looked up their Facebook, and he had posted a open invite, like Airbnb cookout, July 3rd. It's I don't know, some kind of pop-up shop or something. And we caught it like an hour after he booked, and we, just never sent him the information and canceled that booking. But that's why we do that. And so, the more that we are unable to do that, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super, super challenging. Hey, V, welcome to the party. We're talking about the new changes on Airbnb that just came down the last 48 hours about how they don't want you ever reaching out with information anymore. And what are you going to do? Are you just going to kick them in the pants and go do your own book direct thing? Or what are you going to do? Play video games and smoke pot? That's a running joke, by the way, for those not watching every week.
I got that face.
Yeah.
Are you asking me?
Yeah. What are you going to do in Houston?
I just love how you put me on the spot, Matt. Well, I think I was been keeping up with a lot of hosts and experienced managers on what to do with Airbnb and that. And I think we want to transition to where we're going to pull the plug and get away from Airbnb, because I think they get to a point where they take too much control. It's just one thing after another. We got a bunch of bad guests from Airbnb, just stuff. And I think this may be like the last straw.
Do you think that, this is a good question probably for everybody, maybe we can go around the horn and talk about this. Do you think that Airbnb makes it too easy for bad guests to book? Yeah, Linda?
I think so. I think they do. But I also think it's just that it's the young sort of spoiled kids that are booking on there primarily, and so they're not treating property the way they would their home, or maybe they just don't treat their home well either. But I think it's just the age bracket. What do you guys think?
Ben, what were you going to say?
Yeah, they recently made some changes, and like it hit right after COVID, but they made changes to where they would block some local guests and some younger guests, and it was hard to tell exactly what the changes were. But I actually just saw the list the other day, And what they're doing is anybody who's under 25 who has less than 3 positive reviews can't book a whole house within like 50 miles of their hometown. So they're actually taking a lot of data sets and combining them. And I think that's actually, you know, we were kind of using some guidelines like that. Like, you know, the 3 things we never host are local guests, no reviews, last minute booking. And so they kind of actually finally did what I've been hoping they would do and take data they have and be able to like filter people out that way. So that's
How
what
do you
we've
know
been
that
seeing.
they're doing that, Ben?
Well, so we started to, around March, somewhere mid-March, we started to get guests who would say, I'm unable to book your place and I'm getting this error. And so we'd ask them to send us a screenshot. And the screenshot, and I've seen them all over our Facebook groups on Airbnb or whatnot, but it's, it says, you know, due to safety concerns, you're unable to book this whole house, but here's a link to hotels or private rooms that you're able to book. Has anybody else seen that?
Well, that would work in my situation because I've got Denver Front Range people who want to come skiing for the weekend and don't want to sit in traffic. So let's book a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they wouldn't, I guess what he's saying is they wouldn't, if they're local.
If they're under 25 and they live within like 50 miles and they don't have 3 positive reviews, they're unable to book it at this point.
Yeah.
If it's a whole house.
That's something.
It is something, yeah.
Yeah, it's a positive. Well, for those of us that matters to, it's positive. But then you look at Karen, what if they're within 40 miles, which is not super far? All of a sudden they're able to book it. Or what if she wants the guest, you know? She can't,
Yeah.
it's not like she can turn that feature off.
There are some workarounds, but yeah.
Claw around and find me on Facebook or my personal website.
Yeah, book direct. But would you take them anyway at that point?
Yeah, huh?
You take under 25 for the whole house?
I don't typically do under 25, but whole house certainly.
Right.
Weekend traffic is no joke coming up to the mountains to go skiing.
Yeah, for people who've never used the platform before, it kind of hurts them because they can't book a whole house if they're under 25 and it's last minute. And so.
And I don't think we have the Airbnb parties like they do in other parts of the country.
Why? Because it's cold outside when they.
I've never heard of it in Colorado.
Huh.
Where they have a big bash and advertise it and sell tickets. I've never seen that out here.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, and we have a lot of oversight from the government where we have to have a designated representative in the area in case there's any problems or complaints from the neighbors. Somebody's got to be within 45 minutes of the house to deal with it.
Wow.
So what do you just have like if you're, so let's just say you live an hour away, what would you just have a friend who's a neighbor be the designated point person?
Or you can have, there's companies who will do that part of the overseeing. Just if there's a problem, then they come over and figure out what to do. So there's maybe more oversight here than other parts of the country where they know somebody's looking at them. There's an 800 number that you can call for the whole county. And if there's an issue, you've got to address it within 45 minutes.
Wow. That's interesting.
Keeps them honest.
Yeah, you know, I wonder if something like that would, it sounds like really bad on the surface for a vacation rental owner to have to deal with that. But actually, as you sit there and explain it, I don't know, maybe that makes sense. Maybe you have less problems that way. And maybe everybody's on a more level playing field. Like, I'm not opposed to regulation. I'm just opposed to stupid regulation.
And like your situation where you want to make sure the neighbors are okay with your renters, it would be bad if they've got some vendetta against you and keep calling the 800 number.
Yeah, that would be bad, right?
Yeah. But like in my neighborhood here, we can have them do the rentals for us. You can direct book, or you can have them act as this overseer. And
Well, and if an individual is like falsely calling the 800 number, isn't there some sort of,
you'd hope. I don't know. It's a new
Yeah.
system, just happened last year.
have you had any calls on you at all? No, no.
Never. No, I had
Interesting.
full-time residents around me in the last house we had up here.
V, do you guys have that down in Houston?
The local,
Like a call-in number or something like that?
we don't, well, we do, our company have a local person, but as far as regulations go, we're not required to.
Mm. Do you call yourself, like on the phone, and be like, "We're having a party"? No, I'm kidding. So, have you ever found a party on Facebook for your apartments or your condos?
Say
know,
that
like-
again, Matt?
Well, Benjamin found an ad for the guy he rented to on July 3rd for July 4th. Have you ever discovered? No.
No, luckily, no. Maybe just I haven't looked hard enough.
Linda, what about you? Have you discovered any issues?
I did. I found that I had a vacation rental in Maryland and just outside of DC, and somebody tried to book, or they did book, and I saw that there was an ad on Craigslist for a swingers party.
Jeez.
My address. So I canceled that reservation.
Why did you cancel? How come you just didn't show up?
You didn't RSVP?
RSVP.
I didn't have enough plastic to cover the furniture with.
Oh my goodness. John, time to show your face and admit what you found. What has happened at your vacation rental that you discovered? Yeah.
My worst thing was I had who I guess want Australia, I think.
Sounds like a great story, John.
They,
John, sounds like a great story, but you were frozen. Try again.
military folks just had a kind of a raging we found sex paraphernalia after we kicked them out, so that
So
was
you found that. So you kicked them out before the rental ended.
yeah, we had to call the police and had to kick them out, but
So that's interesting because in the first 6 months we had an interesting. This is 5-6 years ago. We rented to a family. They told us that there were, I don't know, 6 people, and there were like 8. And our condo does not hold 8 people. It's just not. It's 2 bedrooms, and we have cameras on the lanai outside that, we can see the people. And they were telling us that no, there's not more than 6 people here. And we're like, well, then why are the neighbors calling us and telling us there are? And why are our cameras? We can count them on the cameras. Oh, well, we stopped in Orlando and picked up an extra kid. So at what point does that not count? Wait, what are you talking about? So we tried to get them out, and they wouldn't leave. We called the police, and of course the police said, you got to go to housing court, because they didn't really understand that we're short term, right? So they were like, oh, you got to go to housing court. So thank goodness I had a Nest system. Because
You kept the AC off.
Oh, for sure. I just kept shutting it off. The whole time they were here, just kept shutting it off. Middle of the night, I wake up at 2 a.m., shut the thing off. It was my only recourse to get them out. Yeah. And yeah, so it was just super bizarre. And we've never really had a problem ever since. That was one of the first experiences we had that was sort of pretty negative. But, we've had other people that really that the phone call discovered that they were not going to be a good fit. They were coming for a wedding, a bachelor party, a bachelorette party, a concert. One was a big traveling type of concert, sort of grunge-like band, and they wanted to put 5, teenagers, roughly older teenagers, young 20-somethings in our property. We're like, no, that's not going to work, right? So we just knew that it was going to create challenges. But some of the best niche stuff we've discovered has worked really, really well, like understanding sort of the things that happen around you. So in Fort Myers, we have the Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins spring training. Now, while we don't rent to people who come to spring training because that's our season, so it's already booked, those parks are actually used for what they call the Roy Hobbs World Series of Baseball, which is something that happens in the fall, and it's all these age brackets that range from like 25 years old to like 85 years old. So there's a senior division that plays in the late fall. And we started marketing to some of these folks on like Twitter, just sending messages when they would be tweeting about Roy Hobbs. And we ended up booking to a couple different parties for the Roy Hobbs World Series, and they stayed at our property for a week. The guys played baseball. They brought their wives. They went shopping into the beaches and things like that. And it worked out really, really well. We've had this conversation a number of times, like I'm looking at a property in northern New Hampshire. Well, in northern New Hampshire, why do people go in northern New Hampshire? Yeah, they ski, but in reality, they go ATVing and snowmobiling. And they do it 3-day weekends about 75% of the year. With exception of what they call the mud season, which is April and May, you can book every weekend. And so if you're marketing to hikers or canoeists or kayakers or whatever your thing is, I know Linda has a property right at a ski resort, right, 2 miles away. Karen, you're definitely in ski heaven, Ben, where's your property at? Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I don't know. It says you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Oh,
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are. Sorry, Columbus, Ohio, and Cincinnati, Ohio. They're more urban properties.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I got a lot of friends over in Columbus. Yeah, so you got urban property. So do you market to any sort of unique event, like an IndyCar race, a stock car race, any of that stuff?
Yeah, there's several events in Columbus. Obviously, there's the Ohio State University, Go Buckeyes. And that's, yes, IO.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's a huge part of our business. We're a little bit on pins and needles to see how the NCAA football season is going to come with COVID.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid of that.
So how much of your bookings were Ohio State Buckeye fans?
Like 20% annual, like it's a big hit if that doesn't exist. But no, there's other events in Columbus, but that's a huge chunk of it. There's the Arnold Fitness Expo in March.
Yeah, and they canceled it this year. I was there speaking that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I was speaking in Columbus this year for the AM Spirit Business Connections Leadership Conference.
Didn't call me? What?
Yeah, and I was sitting in my hotel room, and Arnold was there, and they were having it, and there was no fans or nothing. It was crazy, and I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger has an extra house there somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. We had 45 Arnold Fitness Expo guests booked in houses around Columbus. And when they canceled that event was like the day that COVID hit, my business, honestly, a couple days before a lot of short-term rental companies really felt the brunt of it, I feel like. But when they canceled the Arnold Fitness Expo to exhibitors, that was most of our guests were people who come for that exhibit and they have a business and they book a house for their employees. And so we had to scramble a bit for that. But yeah, that was the second biggest event of the year.
So you make your money between the Arnold Fitness Expo and Ohio State. That's probably 50%, 40% of your business.
I mean, when you take those events out of it, it's still probably profitable, but it's not anything near what it was. It doesn't really make it worth it, to be honest with you. But, we've kind of pivoted towards longer term stays and, you know, the market that does exist. We're actually pretty happy with where we're at right now, but it's a whole different kind of guest.
When you say longer term stays, how are you trying to get those?
So we increased our long-term stay discounts on the platforms and on our pricing. So, you know, I think we're at like 38% discount for a month when most of the market's around 25 or 30. And we've really filled up, you know, we prepare our units to have laundry, to have the things that, you know, long-term stay people want. But then also another thing that I do is I use Price Labs for pricing. And I increase the minimum night stays, you know, for distance bookings. So you can't book 1 or 2 nights with me, you know, more than a week or so in advance. And so we really keep our calendar kind of blocked out. And it really kind of blows my mind how many long bookings we get like the day or 2 in advance. People that are procrastinators like myself. You know, we just had a 28-day booking a day in advance. Somebody who paid a really nice rate. You know, they're a business traveler and just didn't make plans ahead of time, you know, so.
Wow.
But
What
don't you
about-
think that by having your calendar closed, you then have the 28 consecutive days that maybe your competitor doesn't?
That's a huge advantage we have. And it's not by having my calendar closed. Like I was saying, with Price Labs, what I do is I do like a 4-night minimum for anything more than like 15 days in advance on some of these listings. So the only way to book it, you know, up until 2 weeks in advance is to book at least 4 nights. And so I don't get a whole lot of 1 or 2 night bookings. And so then, like, you know, there's 28 days open.
But wait, so within 2 weeks, then as it gets closer to the booking date, they can book a shorter stay?
That's right. So that's the beauty of Price Labs. It does that all automatically. As those dates get closer, it drops the minimum night stay based on a schedule that I type in ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, I mean, I oftentimes will go on Airbnb as a guest in my market and look for, you know, if I want to book a month next week, who's available. And there's really not many available. And that's a lot of my listings are. And I was saying earlier, I mean, it's gone down now, but we went from pre-COVID, we were 3 nights average night stay. And now in the middle of COVID, we were 12-night average stays. And right now it's about 8. So we've gotten some more like, you know, a couple night weekend guests, but really shifting to midterm stays in the urban market has been, I mean, I've not only the only one I've seen have success with it, but a lot of my colleagues in other markets have too.
That's a great idea, but you really can't do that unless you have the third-party tool, right?
No, we do a lot of them on Airbnb. Still, I mean, we do have a direct booking site, and you know, with these new rules today, we're going to be harder to use it. But still, most of our guests find us on Airbnb.
But
you know,
but the Price Labs piece is really required. You can't really do that manually, right? Because
I would agree. Yeah, it's a lot of adjusting.
V, are you using Price Labs?
I am.
And are you doing something similar to what Ben is doing?
Yes. So I allow short-term, I guess 2 nights minimum all the way up to 6 months. After 6 months, then I require 7 nights minimum or 6 months out.
Interesting. So what you're saying is if you want to book my property, you have to be within 6 months to book it for, 2 nights.
Short stay, yes.
Short stay.
And then,
But Ben is even closer. Ben is saying 2 weeks.
yeah.
Now I would love to hear the tale of the boxing match between the 2 weeks and the 6 months. Tell me your thinking on the 6 months, V.
Well, the goal is to try to fill it up for a longer stay, if they book further out. And so far, with all this going on, we don't have any future booking of that far out. So I don't have really concrete data on it.
Do you feel as though if you were to use, instead of a 6-month time frame sort of deadline piece, that if you were to use a 30-day piece that you would lose short-term stays? Because it sounds like Ben isn't worried about that. Ben doesn't open up the short-term stay piece until he gets 2 weeks out. So it sounds like he doesn't worry too much about that. Are you worried about that?
No, I just want to fill it up as much as possible. So I have, I guess it's more like a two nights minimum, and then 4 nights minimum, and then 7 nights minimum. We kind of do a little step up that way. Yeah.
And what are the time frames on those?
I think for our four nights is 60 days, and then it's 180 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So at 60 days, you're
Well,
requiring, at 61 days, if I book 61 days in advance, you're requiring a 4-night minimum stay.
Yeah, that's for just for the Houston properties.
Okay. All right. Linda, do you use Price Labs?
I don't, but I found it interesting when COVID hit and I didn't have everything canceled for the 3 or 4 months forward. I put the house up on Zillow. It's free, and they end up putting your ad across many platforms. So I had, for a monthly rental, and I had a lot of inquiries, and I did the same thing in Maine, and I'm still getting inquiries and booking, 1 month and longer stays through Zillow. There's not much competition. Hardly anybody uses it. And so you're kind of out there by yourself. Anybody that looks on Zillow will find you. And, they might want a month or 3 or 6 months. And it's a good way to fill, month or longer stays.
And when you do it on Zillow, are you just doing then a direct booking? Zillow doesn't get any commission, any listing, nothing?
No, it's totally free. It ends up on sites like realtor.com and
Hot pads.
exactly.
So you're doing it, so in that scenario, you're booking it for a month at a minimum?
You can do anything you want on there, but that was the purpose of it. People could certainly find you for shorter term listings as well, because they call you or they send you an email that says so-and-so is interested in a showing of your property. It's technically for realtors, but it ends up becoming a free place to book, direct.
Technically, I think it's $10 a week now. They've changed it about the time you probably listed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually heard from somebody recently that Zillow started charging.
Yeah, but there's other ones. The nice thing is you can also hold your ad. So if you ever get in a situation again, you don't have to rebuild an ad.
That's true.
And just, send it out there. I've got a triplex down in Denver that I do long-term, or I do traveling nurses.
Interesting.
How are you guys, so the Price Lab is interesting. Those of you that use Price Lab, do you recommend it for those people that have 1, 2, or maybe even 3 properties?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Well, that was resounding. How much is Price Labs?
I think it's $10 or $15 a month for one. I'm not sure.
The price
Yeah,
is
it's on a
reasonable. It goes down as you have more properties, but just the time it takes when I used to try to change the price on Airbnb, the time it takes you to adjust the price because you don't want to go with Airbnb pricing because it's too cheap. Just that alone save a lot of money already, right? $10 a month, 10 to 15 a month for property is totally worth it for me.
And it pushes it out to the different platforms?
Yes, you can link it to sync it together.
With both.
you need a PMS to push it out to the other platforms.
But
Well, wait, so that might be a game changer though for the person with the 1 property, right?
No, if you're on one platform and you have 1 property, it would work really well.
Oh, okay. So it's where you have multiple platforms.
If you want to sync prices on multiple platforms, you need a PMS to do that automatically, or you can do it yourself.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say was when I was doing pricing myself, I was always too quick at the trigger to lower prices. and I trust the algorithms to be more scientific about it.
So you make a lot more money that way at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What I found interesting for me was through this past June. Well, in the past, when we have orphan days, I would reduce the price, 20, 30%. But I was just playing around with it for June. So for my gap, I actually increased the price 30%.
Wow.
And they got booked. So I was very happy.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was shocking, because you had people cancel. So they pay the old price, the cheap price, and now you got new booking and the price gone up and I increased it another 20, 30%. So it was a lot more than what I would have originally got, for those bookings.
Derek is always telling me I'm leaving money on the table. We were just
If you're not
talking to Linda
using-
today about a pricing strategy because Derek was teaching me about how you should always have, like, really far out, you want to have your highest price, right? Because the people that want to book from you, like a whole month rental, a year, 18 months in advance, they should be paying the high rate, because otherwise somebody's going to snatch it up and they're not going to get it, And so as you get closer to the time, maybe you're 12 months out, maybe you lower it down so that it's only 120% of what it was last year, 20% increase. But you get 6 months out, now maybe you can just make it even and it'll book right up, And he was telling me that, and I did that last year, and the guy booked at a higher rate, and I was just like, well, duh, should have had a V8, But it sounds like PriceLab might be a game changer for that definitely that one owner property with one platform, for sure.
I'm going to try it.
Right?
Yeah.
I think they give you a 30-day trial.
Do you guys have referral codes?
I might.
I don't know if they give you anything. I don't think they give you anything.
Oh,
I'll
you should
look.
tell them to talk to the referral guy. Maybe they can get some more referrals. All right, cool. So, John, what's the update on Hawaii? What's going on over there?
Well, they are supposed to be opening up August 1st to Trans-Pacific travel, but today they had the biggest spike, 41 cases. So it's tiny by any other standard, but 41 cases is the biggest spike Hawaii has had since this all started. And so we've never opened up. So I've been, kind of holding tight. I was excited for things to open up again, and there's a reasonable chance that they might, close back up. So that's what's going on out in Hawaii. The other thing that's going on in Hawaii is I am leaving for Hawaii tomorrow and doing my 14-day quarantine, and then going to start figuring out what's going on out there. So that's the news from Lake Wobegon.
Like Wobegon. That's gonna be 14-day quarantine with Derek over there. Yeah. You guys will go golfing, quarantine golfing. Ben, what's the status of sort of the industry and the COVID situation in Ohio?
Real fast, I did find a referral link for PriceLabs. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Yeah, there you go.
$10 off. So there you go. Ohio, they've been cautious, but they're open right now. And so we're pretty full. We're at like 80% occupancy. And it's just a lot of longer stays, a lot of work groups. There's a lot of people that decided to move either to or from Columbus, in the last couple months. So there's good demand for the midterm stays. But yeah, I mean, right now, I think they actually recently just took a step back and closed down restaurants. I'm actually in Texas right now. And so it's a little different here. It's hot and heavy. But business is good in Columbus.
So you're in Texas. It's spiking in Texas, isn't it?
It's spiking, yes.
Are they wearing
everything
masks?
went to close back down. Everybody's got to wear masks. I got a text from on an alert on my phone saying it's a $250 fine if you don't wear a mask. But But
Karen was saying that she's getting like Amber Alert type of text messages on her phone about wearing a mask. But I'm in Florida and that's not happening.
really,
And it's spiking in Miami. So, and V, how's it going at Lake of the Ozarks? Are you there partying with all the other kids on TV? No?
I wish.
So what's the status in Houston?
Well, so we were at almost 80% occupancy in June, and then in July we started seeing a lot of cancellations. Some are from out-of-state travelers, and some are from local travelers, and it's not coming as hot as they were back in May and June. And so I think the restaurants are back at 25%, and you have to wear a mask everywhere, just like Ben said.
Yeah, right. You're going to get a $250 fine, which is more expensive than your dinner.
Well, they don't fine you; they fine the business. So you can't go into the business without wearing a mask. And if the business accept you, they get a fine. So they don't fine the individual. I think that's what last I heard.
Interesting. Janet, you want to give us an update? I saw you pop on there in a minute ago. If you want to give us an update on what's going on in your neck of the woods, we're happy to have it. David as well. John gave us an update. All right, Janet, there you go. And you got to unmute yourself. Oh, you're eating dinner. What are we having? Spaghetti? What are we having today? Oh, yeah, she's off. And she's back on.
Hey,
You're muted. There you go. There you go. So
in the kitchen again. It's dinner time.
yeah, it's like a thing, I don't know. So give us a quick update. What's going on where you're at in COVID world and also rental world?
We're in San Diego. We've got a little over 20 units, and we're right on the beach. So all the properties about a 1-minute walk to the beach. We're doing really well. They're full. I think our rates are really good, kind of normal rates. All of our guests are coming locally from the San Diego area, Phoenix, a lot of people from Arizona. Probably 50% are coming from Arizona. It's like 100.
You have not had cancellations from Arizona, because Derek had guests for Seattle from Arizona and they canceled.
We have had a few, about maybe 3 to 5 guests from Arizona canceled last week.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of spooked out because they're hearing about all these closings, and I'm trying to reassure them that San Diego stayed open. So the beaches in California were shut down for 4th of July weekend everywhere in Southern California except for San Diego. And so the news media made it sound like California beaches are shut down for 4th of July. And we had to try to let people know they're not. There's been no rumors here that they will. So I did hear from someone today that they shut down the beach parking lots. But that doesn't impact you if you're a vacation rental person, because you're parked at your home. You have parking. So
they did that here on Sanibel. So if you're trying to drive over, they close all the parking lots.
They're just trying to limit how many people come down, I guess. It was still pretty crazy, but they said it was like 30% less people on the beach than a normal 4th of July. There are no fireworks, but the people from Arizona all brought their illegal fireworks, and you would think that they were like on 90% discount or free because there were so many illegal fireworks. It was like,
no. So I've heard, you know what the people are calling that? They're calling that the stimulus fireworks package. So it's the stimulus check that people took and used to buy all the illegal fireworks.
Oh my gosh.
And even in Massachusetts, before I came down here, it was incessant. It was every night, 7 days in a row. And I'm not talking like little sparklers and little those fountain things in your yard. These things were going 75 feet in the air.
Yeah, World War III or something. I know. Yeah.
M80s, everything.
Yeah. I know. I can post a video of what it looked like here at the beach with all the fireworks going off.
Yeah, post it in the group. We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Post it in the Facebook group. Yeah. So things are good at the moment there.
So the only change that San Diego County made yesterday was that the restaurants are now closing for three weeks for in dining. So they can do patio outdoor dining, and they can do, takeout and delivery and that normal stuff. But that's the big change. The zoo is staying open and the beaches are staying open, which are the beach is the most important thing for us. People will try to cancel. I've been getting a lot of questions. If the beaches cancel, what will happen to our reservation? Because that's the whole reason we're coming, and I try to reassure them they're not going to camp, they're not going to close the beaches, and then two, sorry, you're not getting it. There's no.
Are you doing an extension 1 year credit? What are you doing?
I haven't been doing much. So I should take that back. Some of our properties have moderate cancellation policy. So I got 5 cancellations last week, and because people were kind of freaking out, worried, and they got free cancellations because it was more than 5 days out. So I'm not sure if I should bump them all up to steep. What do you call it? Strict or not?
Yeah. It doesn't matter anyway.
But
If it's
we're
an
still getting
Airbnb,
last minute. I'm still getting last minute bookings the day of. Oh, and I do want to say, was it Benjamin that was explaining his strategy? I do the exact same thing, and but I haven't been using Price Labs to do it. I've been doing it by hand. So I've been having 7-day minimums up until 2 weeks out, and then at 2 weeks out I drop it down to 3 days. And then when it's under a week, I drop it down to 2-night minimums. So it's been going pretty good. And then when I'm trying not to drop the price very much when it's last minute, because I'm getting even same day bookings the day before. And I think those people are really desperate to get something rather than any, there's not much availability left. So they're willing to pay a higher price. So it's sometimes when you know that occupancy is really high, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Or vacancy is low. How about we say it that way?
Well, supply and demand at the end of the day. That's what this is.
You can do it that way. You don't have to drop your rates. But in the winter time, obviously, you have to drop your rates because there's probably a lot available. But
you should definitely do Price Labs. You're going to save yourself hours a day.
Yeah. I know. We have it. We actually have had it for the last few months. We did a 1-month trial, but it overwhelmed me. It was so confusing. I can't quite figure it out. So we have it set up, but I haven't I've only synced one listing because I'm so nervous that once it starts, then I'm going to be locked into all these crappy prices that I don't like. I'm afraid to make that transition and turn it on. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Janet,
I don't know if I trust it.
Janet.
I'm so used to doing it by hand,
Janet, just turn it on.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, just do it.
Can you set up a bottom so that it can go lower?
Yeah, that's true. I should trust that. You're right.
Ben, what's the trick to getting going on that?
Man, okay, so it's kind of like if you sat in the cockpit of a commercial airliner, there's so many buttons and whistles and gauges you don't know what to do with, but that's fine. Leave them all aside. Just take the simplest version, set your base price, adjust a few things at a time, and as you're more comfortable, adjust more things.
Okay.
Your thing about last minute, that's so true. We actually have it so that the price is better compared to the market a couple weeks in advance, and as the last 2 weeks start ending and it gets closer, the prices start raising. And that's just a simple adjustment on what they call occupancy-based adjustment, but you can adjust timelines. And yeah, but to get started, I would not try to figure it all out. I would just do the basics and then adjust a few of those as you go.
All right, night. It keeps being my goal every night. I'm I got to figure this out. We even did a training call with Price Line, and I've got to try to find that recording when it was recorded. It's been a couple months. It was during the quarantine that we did it. I know it's been a few months, so I've forgotten everything he taught me.
And is Price Labs about the same as Beyond Pricing?
It's similar. Yeah, it's so I've used Beyond Pricing and I've used Wheelhouse. I tried those both before I went to Price Labs about 2 years ago, and I don't know if it's made many changes since, but Beyond Pricing really actually was good at using data from like events from the area, like concerts and whatnot. But Price Labs, the difference is it seems to have a little bit more inputs that you can put into it that it then is more specific to your unit. So if you're, you know, if you're not closer to those events, it doesn't really affect it as much. And the minimum night stays is something that Beyond Pricing doesn't have.
Okay. And Airbnb offers something similar to that too, doesn't it? Where it gives you recommended pricing?
Yes.
We don't trust it.
Don't
don't
use
trust
it.
$40.
Well,
Use
we
it.
see recommended pricing on VRBO as well. But I don't
Yeah.
know that I trust it either.
Well, it's not automatic. You have to accept it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
But even when I look at what they're recommending, I'm like, I don't know.
VRBO, oftentimes the price is higher
Yeah.
than what you imagine. So I find it, you know, it's not as bad as Airbnb, which is always dropping the price.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Airbnb, for what I looked at the first time, was just stupid low. I wouldn't open my door for that.
Yeah.
So tell me this though, as far as what it recommends, Price Lab, is it comparing it to other 1-bedrooms? Like if you got a 1-bedroom and, or does it look at all the amenities? Like, oh, this one is a jacuzzi, like all the extra things. Does it bump it up like a little bit higher? Or, oh, I've seen this one gets 300, it's been getting 300 a night. Yeah, you want to see these people? Who are you? Who are you? He wants to know
Hey.
who you all are. Hi.
No, you have to set your base price. And so you kind of look it around and see what your base price is, like your average. And then I tell it like weekends are like 50% higher than the base price, and weekdays I do like a 5% lower. But then, you know, on my 3-bedroom, the base price is up here, and on my 1-bedroom, the base price is down here. And so the base price is kind of like an average in a way. And so, you know,
some that are like perform so much better than others. And so I'm wondering how that would factor into it. You want to sit here because you want to see all the people? He was pointing at each of you and saying, who are you? Who are you? And
Can you tell him we're busy making money moves?
playing Monopoly.
That's right. That's right. Well, no, I mean, this is a good discussion. I mean, I'm sure we could go on for hours. I don't want to do that.
I'll mute. Sorry, guys.
So we'll, you know, the thing is, you know, it's what I love about this is that everybody's got a different strategy, but every market needs a different strategy. Everybody's business needs a different strategy. My business is different than Ben's, is different from V's, is different from Karen's and Linda's and Janet's and David's and John's, right? And so we have to find what works best for us, right? And that's how we kind of started the conversation about Airbnb's stupid rules, right? Because it doesn't, they have to do what's good for them, but that's not good for us. And it's going to push us off the platforms and things like that. And now, you know, seeing, you know, I never really thought Price Labs was an option for me, one property owner. I think that's a fantastic tool. And it sounds like I should probably reach out to them, which brings back around an announcement I wanted to make tonight for you guys to be aware of. So we are excited to be bringing a new program to the Vacation Rental Life organization, and it's called the Expert Spotlight Series. So we're going to be doing live free webinars with experts in the vacation rental industry. And the very first one is next Thursday night at 7 o'clock with Dirk Johnson, who is the back of the house guy in the industries, all cleaning, all back of the house related stuff. We're going to dig into some stuff. And this is exclusive to the Vacation Rental Life organization. He's coming on just for us. We have a number of other people lined up in the industry, some of which you will recognize, some of which will not. We're going to be talking about SEO. We're talking about websites. We're going to talk about guest books. We're going to talk about pricing. because now I'm going to reach out to these people and talk about pricing. That's for sure. So we're going to have all kinds of information, and we're going to be doing them, probably about once or twice a month, and you'll learn all about them in the Facebook group, and we'll let you know through email as well.
Yay!
Awesome stuff. So we're trying to do a lot of things. Appreciate all you guys helping us grow the group. If you invited somebody, thank you for that. If you didn't invite someone who's a vacation rental owner, please do. We'd love to grow the group and continue the conversations over there. We're trying to create engagement. Don't be afraid to post anything in our Facebook group. It is a moderated group, meaning we have to approve all posts, but that's simply because we don't want people saying, hey, stay at my property. That's not what we're about. We're trying to be about how do you use this, how do you use that. I would love to see a conversation specifically about pricing inside the group. That would be fun. So I thank you guys for engaging tonight. I learned a lot tonight. And I know Derek, if he was on, would have been like, well, duh, I've been telling you about price labs for 6 months, man. You don't listen to me. No, I listen to the experts. Thank you very much. So thanks for coming on, guys. We'll be back here again Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 14th. And then our expert spotlight series, you'll see a link to that in the Facebook group. That's going to be with Dirk Johnson at 7 p.m. on the 16th. So stay tuned. We appreciate all you guys jumping in. Thanks so much for all your advice and your help for everybody
Thanks,
else.
Matt.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, don't forget, live happy, smile a lot, and high five everyone around you. John, have a good flight tomorrow.
All right, take care.